$700,000 if I remember right. But where's that $700,000 going to come from? I mean, I don't know what our net new growth is right now. Maybe that will help, but I can't believe our net new growth is going to be 4.6% or enough to, what did we go up last year? $150,000 with net new growth dollars. So,
well, and that net new growth, that with the increased building costs and so forth, you have to question if that's going to be there. But yet, you hear some things on the outside that it's, the building industry is still going strong. So anyway, I think that 3% is realistic, at least for a target. I don't want to be above that.
So just putting this out there. So let's say we choose to do a 3% and that's going to be our target this year. We will have to probably address that 1.5 shortage, 1.5 basis points there for next year's increase. That's probably going to be more affordable. But if I can find ways to find funding that makes the 4.6 possible, I just want to make sure that you would be in favor of that if I can support it somehow and like I said, come up to a 99.9% comfort level that we can have this covered if there's other avenues. This is that creative, I think it was mentioned too in my interview, like creative financing. Well, this is creative budgeting. And you have to find other sources, and those sources have to be reliable. But so if you're in favor of that, so let's say if you guys tell us 3%, I'd like to know that you're still in favor of me kind of researching if the 4.6 would be viable.
I have a question, and
yes.
John, maybe why don't we just let her run with 4.6, and if it comes back in another month and hey, we can't possibly afford that, it can all be changed at that point, can it?
Yeah, it can.
I mean, why are we locking us down and saying we're going to go way below market value instead of giving her a shot at it and saying, hey, see if this will work, see if we can make this work, and if she can make it work, what's the problem? Otherwise, we'll have to make it up next year.
Pete, we're not locking it down no more than you're locking it up.
Well, you're giving an indication that, hey, 4.6 is way too high, but maybe it's not.
You're starting with a 4.6. So no matter how you view it, whether it's 4.6 or whether it's 3 or whether it's a 1.6, it can be adjusted. So I'm not sure the argument holds weight.
So I guess my question is, why are we changing it? If it doesn't hold weight and if it doesn't really matter what the number is, why don't we let Cynthia run with that?
I think it was already pointed out that didn't think it was sustainable.
But it may not be sustainable at 3. So
you want to be at 1?
Well, I'm just saying, no, I think we need to give her a lead on this and say, let her work on it and see what we can come up with. Right. Because we want to stay in the market, don't we? We don't want to take ourselves right out of the market. And that's what we'd be doing. In terms of hires. Last year.
John, this is Rich. Can I interject for a minute?
I wanted to ask Supervisor Pease his opinion first. So
I
don't know what you're seeing.
I would agree. I would agree with. I would like to see it at 3, but if there's a chance that Cynthia said she could possibly come up with a way to sustain that, I think we should explore that. But I also look at the long-term effects of a 4 or 6 as we carry it all the way through for the next 10 years. That number grows exponentially every year. So I would worry about that for a 1-year increase of 4.6, but I do believe we need to give Cynthia the tools and to tell her to go ahead and explore that. And if it's not sustainable, then we have to explore a different number.
This is Barb.
Yes.
This is Barb. I agree. I think we should let Cynthia have the time to try to find something and then come back to us next month.
Okay. Rich, you wanted to say something then?
Yeah, I understand the dynamic here of looking at a 4.6% wage increase as well as an 8% healthcare burden, but just something to keep in mind if you haven't already, if you do go down to 3%, like Bob said, as just a fixed point, and then we actually do increase the health insurance premiums for the employees by 8%, that's a major issue with a lot of employees where they see a substantial price increase in their health insurance, but then they don't have a nice wage increase to at least try to offset part of it, just one more part of the equation. Thank you.
Michelle, you're still on the call, right?
I am.
So with the benefits, the health insurance going up to 8%. So Rich, I just want to address your concern there that remember the employee only pays 15%. So it's not going to grow the whole 8%. You have a smaller share than what the county share. I believe the county pays 85% of the, Michelle, am I right on that 85%?
You're correct.
Okay. So it's not as bad as it looks, Rich, on this. But you would actually be coming out ahead, even with the 3%. I mean, I think the hit on the 8% is not going to be as bad on you as it will be for the county.
Michelle, the one question I was going to ask you is that when we set the elected officials' rates, what did we put in for an increase for them annually?
I would have to go and look. Let me do that quick.
I can speak to that. It's 1.5% for the 4 years.
Okay, thank you. So
that's
that's something too. So
is that for everyone or?
Yeah. Well, it was for the treasurer, the county clerk, and the register of deeds. Yeah. For the 20 to 24, 1.5 for the 4 years.
And then we have sheriff and
they'll be coming up in 22 for renegotiation, but ours is set through 2024. We just get the 1.5% each year.
And I haven't had a chance to look at it, but the collective bargaining unit here, what is that contract increase for 2022? I can find out.
They are tied to whatever the county does. The labor agreement is very unique, and they adopted and bought into the county's wage plan.
Okay. That makes sense.
So would the consensus be to leave it at the 4.6, but knowing that we might have to take it down the road, or we'll need to see numbers? I know. I mean, some departments are going to have issues if we leave it at 4.6, and how are they going to keep it at 0? So, but they'll have to work on that. So.
Just gives us direction is all for now.
Yes, I understand. So.
I say let Cynthia work on it, just like Rick said, and if it doesn't work, we'll know.
Okay.
And we'll have to adjust.
I'm fine with that. Bob and Barb?
Yes, I'm fine with it too.
Not so much.
It's not locking in stone.
Right.
Oh, she's got highlighted, not final.
Right. All of them are a moving target right now. So.
Okay.
That's true. And through my history, I know it's easier to go up than it is to go down.
Right. Well, and maybe we'll see as they move on those numbers, then that they use what the CPI is right now, and I'm just thinking about that union contract, the protected class, Mindy. If that language was tied, that we would use that as a benchmark.
No, the collective bargaining agreement moves the employees right into the administration. So whatever you however you adjust the wage schedule for other employees, they're included in that same adjustment.
Okay. So direction right now, I don't know if we need to make a motion because we're not really locking those wages in at this time, but I guess if there's no objection, we'll leave the 4.6 in there for now and leave them the way they have them scheduled.
Sure.
I know there's some discomfort, which I don't know if it's sustainable neither, but we can sure find out once the numbers are plugged in there. So,
and the wage, the salary program states that the adjustments will be based on CPI and what the county can afford.
Right.
So,
okay.
Hand in hand.
Okay. So maybe, Cynthia, just make sure that, maybe we'll cover some of that next month again when Kyle's back too. I mean, you'll have some of the numbers. If he's working on his spreadsheets for the committees, he'll be able to, give us a direction of what it's looking like. So.
Absolutely.
Okay. Okay, then there's any other discussion on that? We'll move on to item C, resolution on recognizing Second Amendment rights.
John, it's Pete. I'd like
Yes.
to make a motion that we reject that resolution.
Okay. Motion to reject the resolution. Is there a second
We'll
on
second that.
Okay. So there's a motion to reject the resolution, even though, we're not really, since it's coming from Supervisor Shapey, we're just really discussing it. We're not really looking at making a motion to send it on to county board.
We are looking for a vote though, right?
Well, we can have a vote, but it's just sort of giving an indication of what the committee feels. So, and that's, I know I've been talking with Supervisor Shapey about it and discussing it, and thought it would be best to, instead of sending it right to the county board, to have it come to at least one or two committees and have a discussion more on a committee level than on the county board level. And,
Well, that's fine. Since I made the motion.
Excuse me, John, when I took the oath of office to represent the county, I am to support all the amendments and everything like that of the Constitution of the United States. I really don't think this is necessary.
John, are you
I
still
made the
asking
motion.
for discussion?
yes,
Yeah,
we're open for this discussion.
Okay, I guess to echo what Barb said, I also believe that when we took the oath of office that we uphold all the constitutional amendments, and I don't put the Second Amendment in front of any other amendment. I view them all the same, from voting rights to free speech. If we would bring this back, I would gladly support that we recognize all the amendments and all the rights of our citizens of Adams County, not just the Second Amendment rights. And I think, but I think, like Barb says, we cover that when we raise our right hand and swear that we will uphold the Constitution of the United States when we're sworn in. But if this was to come back, I would like it to see to support all the amendments and the rights of the citizens of Adams County. That's where I'm at with this.
This is Jody Shapey. May I interject anything here?
Yes, go ahead, Jody.
So what this is I agree with you on the all rights thing, Supervisor Pease. The reason that the Second Amendment came up first was that a resolution gets really, really long when you start putting particulars on with the entire constitutional rights. So it was the Second Amendment that we felt was more important first. And really, the resolution is a communication along with other counties. I think at this point, there's probably been 15 counties in the state of Wisconsin that have passed something similar. And it's just letting our state government know that we are backing the citizens of our community.
John, it's Pete. I made the motion to reject it. Can I speak to it?
Yes.
You know, Jody and I get along great, so this isn't personal. First of all, has anybody in Adams County been denied their Second Amendment rights? Has anybody in the state been denied their Second Amendment rights? I don't think so. 2020 set a record for mass shootings. Gun sales are at an all-time high. In 1 week this year, there were 17 mass shootings. So putting a resolution forward that basically promotes a gun sanctuary county seems to me to send the very wrong message. And frankly, gun resolutions throughout the state are sponsored by partisan Republicans. And it seems to be playing on the fear that somehow the Democrats are trying to take away the Second Amendment, or they're coming to confiscate your guns. None of that's true. That's just conspiracy theory. There's no effort to remove guns. There's no effort to eliminate the Second Amendment. And we've made a great effort. John, you've made a great effort on this, on our board, to keep partisan politics out of county issues. We've tried to deal with things that we let the data drive our decisions, and that's based on need for our county. And to me, this doesn't meet that criteria. This is a non-enforceable, partisan, symbolic-only resolution that sends the wrong message. That's why I'm opposed to it.
May I speak to that, Supervisor
yes.
Hickether? Okay. So Supervisor Hickether, I understand where you're coming from, but I think to show support is overall, it should be considered nonpartisan when it comes to our constitutional rights. The second thing is, we're not only speaking for our current citizens. I think we also have to realize that we've got some kids that are hunters, and there's a lot of concern with their rights moving forward. And I think if we stand back and kind of look at it as we're just saying we support our citizens, we understand, both sides, Democrat, Republican, I don't really care. We're all in this together. And this
Jody,
is just kind of a support piece.
Jody, my question is then, how come none of these are sponsored by the Democrats? Every single one of these in the state are sponsored by the Republican Party. And you say people are concerned. Who's concerned? I mean,
I'm actually not sure if you could pinpoint Republican parties. I mean, as I did the research and I went out into different states and within the counties
I'm talking about Wisconsin. Talk about Wisconsin. Every single one of these in the state have been sponsored by the Republicans. And I'm not trying to get partisan on this thing. I just don't think this is necessary to say, hey, we want to be a gun sanctuary county at a time when gun sales are super high, when mass shootings are super high. It just sends the wrong message, Jody. We don't need to do this.
Do you feel that we are saying we are a sanctuary, or do you feel that we are just saying, you know what, we're here for our citizens. We understand we've got hunters, we've got people that just want to protect their own property. We're here for you.
Sure. So how did that change from last year, the year before that? How has that changed that suddenly we have to put out a statement saying that
I don't think it did.
Then why are we doing it?
I think it's more of again, going back to, you know what, we all have to pull together. I see other counties doing it. I see other states doing it.
That's not a reason.
And maybe it's just a message that we're sending that we wish to preserve our rights. I mean, it's not, if Mindy can get on, it's not.
To preserve a right, Jody, to preserve a right, don't we have to have, some precedent saying that, hey, we're losing this right? I don't see where there's anything there. Nobody's saying take away their guns. Nobody's saying take away the Second Amendment. So why do we have to emphasize that if there's nothing there? Nobody's emphasizing the 14th Amendment.
I guess
I noticed that.
I guess it's just to show our support, and that's where I would say that once our rights are put into question, bringing a resolution forward would probably be too late at that point, Pete. So why not show
that
the
implies
fact
that you
we
think our
support
rights are
him
going to be put
currently?
in question, though, Jody.
I don't. I'm saying if in case that ever happened, it would probably be too late. So why aren't we forward thinking and saying, you know what, we're all in this together. We just want to show our support.
Based on
Jody, I did when I rose my right hand. I already said I support.
Me too, Barb.
I go with what Rick said. Let's say we support all the amendments of the Constitution.
We certainly can, and I did look at that, and we did talk about that, John and I, and we just at the time we thought the Second Amendment would be the first one to go with. But John,
so we have to do it 27 times. We have to do it 27 times.
No, because if you look at them, there's ways to combine. So,
but not this one. You can't combine this with anything.
Well, we could bring it back and put all the rights together. I mean, when we talked with Counsel, we weighed the pros and cons. It just gets lengthy.
Mm-hmm.
If you start bringing
I hear you, Jody. I hear you, but I'll stick with my motion.
That's fine, Pete, and I understand.
Nothing personal.
Nope.
Supervisor Grabarski, you want to weigh in?
Not really.
Well, I keep hearing how it's partisan and that apparently it's been brought up by Republicans, all the other 16 counties that have voted it in. I haven't heard anything that indicates that other than what Pete has said, that it's all partisan, and I don't.
And just research it.
I think this is absolutely reinforcing a amendment of the Constitution. I don't see anything wrong with it. Thanks.
Procedurally, the Admin and Finance Committee could choose to also recommend this for adoption. If they choose not to do that, it's Jody's motion, and she can choose to put it on the county board agenda for debate and possibly passing. The original draft did go much farther than this, and it was changed substantially just to be more of a communication piece. But it is certainly up to the county board what sort of communication it wants to put forward.
Okay.
You have called for an assault weapons ban. I have a simple question for you. What is an assault weapon?
So, Mindy, as a question, then, really, even if we would vote not to bring this forward, Jody could still ask for it to be put on the county board. Is that what you just stated?
Sure. Correct, because under your board rules, a resolution can be sponsored by one supervisor.
Okay.
It can be by a supervisor or a committee or a combination.
Okay.
Okay.
I think, but before we vote on this, I just want to say one thing. I think when something comes out of a committee and to the board, and it's not recommended by the committee, it sends more weight.
So, okay. Any other discussion?
Could I ask one other question? I saw Sheriff York was on here. Does Sheriff York wish to have any communication on this subject? What he sees going on in the other counties around us?
Supervisor Wentz might be free to speak.
Go ahead, Sheriff. if you want to speak.
Yeah, I'm aware also around the state there are similar type resolutions passing. I do believe they are basically a symbolic resolution that are necessarily not any more enforceable than our Constitution. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, we had a motion to reject the resolution and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. So the aye is in favor of not supporting it. So, and the nay will be against that. So all in favor of not supporting signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Against?
Nay.
Okay.
Just to clarify, everybody was yes except Grabarski is no. Is that correct?
Correct.
Thank you.
I believe. Okay. Thank you. Okay, that motion passes. So move on to resolution to modify Adams County Personnel Manual.
Okay, I don't know. I don't know if you want Jim, Michelle, or I to explain this.
Yes, I do.
Well, I'll go ahead and explain it since I've talked about it with Michelle. Right now, a component of your COVID plan was to allow teleworking. This provision would just move that teleworking portion of the COVID plan into the handbook so that if it worked to a department's advantage, they could allow individuals to telework. Right now, the way your handbook is written, you have flexibility in terms of hours of work and work assignments, but there's nothing that addresses an individual's ability to work remotely for whatever reason. And there may be circumstances, again, where it's in the best interest of the department to allow teleworking. And this just incorporates those provisions so that you make sure you've got the proper checks and balances before it's allowed to occur.
So who's going to determine the necessity of this? Mindy?
I think it sets forth in the policy.
I understand that part, but
yeah.
But if a person or an employee or a supervisor, for that matter, decides they want to do remotely, is there any recourse that says no, that we need your presence?
It's going to be the department heads and your county manager that make those determinations. And
okay.
It's not a matter of an automatic right. It is an option that would be available.
And this verbiage is okay, that kind of spells that out?
Yes.
Okay.
And they do fill out a form as well. And that form does come to me. It's the employee fills it out, the manager or department head signs it, and then that form comes to me.
I guess I'm really not in favor of updating the personnel manual at the present time. I would like to see some input from Cynthia and some of the department heads about teleworking. I think that it's hurting morale across the county currently. And I think that us putting it in personnel manual without more input from those people, that it's hard for me to just say, this kind of gives the department heads a blank check right now to do it whenever they or the employee feels like it. So I'm really not in favor of this at the present time. I'd like to possibly either table this for a couple months so we can hear from department heads and or Cynthia about the direction this really is going to take Adams County.
I agree with what he's saying. I think that doesn't our COVID plan run out at the end of this month? You know, it seems to me throwing it in the personnel manual right now. Maybe we should wait and see where we're going to go on the COVID plan before we throw this in there. And I agree with Rick. I just as soon table this for another month or so.
I mean, if the COVID plan runs out at the end of the month, then what do we do July 1st if we don't extend the COVID plan?
It means that everybody has to be in the courthouse working.
Right. So that's, but this ties to that, right?
No. Pete, one of the problems with this, and Rick, is the fact some of the work from home, some of the teleworkings probably will become more so the norm than the exception. And that means less buildings, that means a lot of different things. So I don't see where this is detrimental in any way. This allows for, and the other thing we have to contend with is that we don't have, as supervisors, we don't have a place to meet other than right here at
community center.
This center here. I mean, we don't have a boardroom. So we need
I guess what Rick's saying, at least what I'm hearing Rick say, is that he wants to let's hear from some department heads and see why it works for some, but some of them kind of resent it and have a problem with it. And how is there any way to make it somewhat equitable? Because, you know, for example, if you're staying at home and working, you may be able to watch your kids at home. Whereas somebody else is going into work, they have to be into work and they have to pay for daycare. So I think there's part of the issue that's playing into this thing. And maybe before we put this into the manual, as Rick said, maybe we can just table it for a month and maybe we can hear from some of these department heads, or maybe Cynthia can and relate it back to us.
So when is it applicable to pass this if in fact we allow this policy to expire by the end of the month?
If it expires. If it doesn't expire, then we bring this back and add it.
Why wouldn't it?
Because it's tied to the COVID plan right now, isn't it?
Yes.
So if the COVID plan goes by the wayside, this goes by the wayside. So if we're going to extend the COVID plan, then bring this back in a month and we can find out how people actually feel about it or actually hear from them. I agree with what Rick's saying.
But you're suggesting that we're going to use this resolution as leverage to keep the other one in place. And that's not right.
No, I'm not. I'm saying that if we pass
this
today, Bob, if we pass this today and we get rid of the COVID plan at the end of the month, then this isn't there anymore.
No, this would be here then.
I mean, it's not tied to the COVID plan?
This would allow teleworking if the COVID plan would go away.
It says teleworking. Oh, I get it, post 19. Okay, I hear what you're saying there.
I guess,
so then there's no urgency to do it.
Yes.
I guess what I'm saying is I'm okay with the COVID plan lapsing at this point and people come back to work at July 1st and then we have a discussion on who should be teleworking, who shouldn't be teleworking. We have to remember 16, 18 months ago, I don't believe we had anybody on telework. And just to continue having people do telework, we should, and the department head should have our say in how it should be done, who should be doing it. There's certain departments that they'll never be able to telework. I mean, I'm thinking the highway committee, most of the sheriff's department, etc. So I think that discussion needs to be had because there's very few times I walk into the courthouse when somebody asks me, how come this person gets to work at home? And it's frustrating for me because we've really never been talked to about that, except that we know people are doing it because of COVID. So at this time, I would rather have that discussion before putting it into the personnel manual. That's all I'm asking.
I'm just wondering, John, this is Barb, if we can get some input from the department heads and meet just before, at the end of June for a half an hour. An hour.
Permission to speak?
Yes.
In reading this grant money that's coming our way, I'm going to do a little bit more research, but I could have swore I saw something where we can give incentive pay to those who are essential employees. So if we're talking about equity, because that was brought up in the discussion, that those people who are not capable of working at home and have to be here because they're essential employees, I believe there's a stipend type money worked into this grant money. But don't quote me on that, but I could have swore that's what I read, and I just want to make sure my understanding is right. It almost makes sense if you think about it, that, you know, you talked about people who are at home don't have to pay for daycare, they also don't have to pay for gas. There's a lot of savings, but you have those employees that are considered essential that have to be here. And to me, it seemed like there was some sort of funding available to maybe incentivize those people who have to be here. And then to me, I think that it'll help smooth things over across the board. People feeling like maybe they're, you know, they don't get the benefit of staying home, but yet they'll get additional pay if that's how it works. But allow me some time to kind of look into that a little bit more. But I just want to put that out there as that could be a probability.
And this is strictly a policy decision, of course, for the board, but just let me point out that many counties have telework policies to allow flexibility. A lot of that flexibility is for social workers. And some counties have used policies like this to address situations where there are space shortages. And the other thing is, regardless of this policy, it's a consideration that you will have to go through in some circumstances to accommodate disabilities. So.
Well, right now, we're still in the middle of a building project. And if you're going to require everyone to come in to be physically present at the courthouse, you might want to consider where you're going to put them.
John, I have no problem with having a policy. I just agree with Rick that maybe it'd be nice if we could get some input. Let Cynthia run with the thought that she just had and get some input, and we can bring it back in a month and we can talk about it and make a decision then.
Okay. And that's what the motion was, right?
That's what Rick's motion was, right?
Yes.
Yes.
I don't have a motion written down.
Oh, you don't?
No.
I thought Supervisor P's motion to table it.
That's how a motion to table, just to be out of the record. I'll motion to table this for a month.
And I'll second.
Yeah. I thought that motion was made and seconded, but if not, it is now. So any other discussion on the motion to table till next month?
So if we discontinue the COVID policy as it stands right now, or let it expire at the end of the month, then everyone will be required to be physically present in their work department.
Unless we pass this motion next month, this resolution.
Well, that'll be past the deadline, but I think
It won't matter.
the motion coming up shortly is to extend that already. So we'll have to discuss that when we get there.
So we've got the cart ahead of the horse here.
Exactly. Exactly.
So is there a way that we could move on to the next one without voting on this one?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, there probably is.
Well, I'll withdraw my motion if that would help, and then we can always revisit this to come back to that then.
We could just set it
that's
aside
okay
right
with
now and
Pete.
bring it back, right, Mindy, later in the meeting?
Yeah, you could do that.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not-
Okay. Okay, so we'll set this aside right now and we'll go on and talk about the third amended resolution to implement the COVID emergency management plan.
All right, this is the resolution that extends, if we vote in favor of this, and if this would take it until the end of the year, is that correct?
Correct.
Then I would vote, I would move to deny this resolution.
Okay.
I
Motion
will
is-
second that, but I would like some discussion on this.
Sure.
Right,
Well,
right.
I would be in favor of amending that resolution.
That's
and
where I was
extending
going, Pete.
it. You can extend it 2 months. Extend it till the end of August and see where we're at. And if we have to, we can extend it after that. We don't have to do it 6 months.
At
you
a
know.
time.
Why don't we amend it to August
Well, let's,
or September?
there's a motion on the floor, so we have to, if you had that second, Supervisor Pease then?
Yep.
Okay, so yeah, discussion then on the resolution.
does
to-
it- If I make a motion to amend it, does that take precedence?
You're not getting an answer, Peter. I'd like to discuss this. a
Well,
little
I
bit.
Mindy,
thought she was
help me.
reading with her lips moving, or she was talking, I couldn't hear her.
I'm just thinking this through, how you can
Doesn't-
amend a motion to deny a resolution. Maybe withdraw the motion if the intent is just to change the date. And just so that there's clarification, the main purpose of this resolution is to allow the remote meetings to continue.
Right.
And you don't have a physical space, you're not going to be able to, you don't know how long it's going to be. When this resolution was put together, one of the considerations was just extending it until the end of September to give folks a chance to move into the new building, make sure things were working right, to have in-person meetings. And then there were further discussions about, well, put it into place till the end of the year. You can always resend it if you want to. The other thing that it does is it does give the county manager the authority to adjust the emergency plan as needed, and the public health officer and emergency manager to also carry on their duties.
So we could rescind this at any time, correct?
Correct.
Which we have not done in the past, and chances are we won't in the future. Now, the fact is, I've had more calls from supervisors that want to end this, let it play out until the end of June and have it over with. And that's something that doesn't normally happen. Also, I've talked to some employees that don't want to be masked up. Fact is, as you go across the US and the CDC, they have removed the requirements, and yet we're trying to cling to them. And that doesn't say much for us as far as following the science, if there is such a thing anymore.
They haven't removed the indoor
fact is,
requirement.
Pete, wait a minute, Pete. Here's the other thing. When we start talking about some of this stuff, it just goes, the people have already decided what they're going to do and what they're not going to do. And for us to try and get ahead of them and make it look like we're leading, we're not. The fact is that the people have decided, and they are not masked up. And wherever you go, whether you go to a bar, whether you go to a church or whatever, people aren't masked up anymore. They have decided that it's unenforceable, and it's time to stop this. Get back to some sort of normalcy.
Bob, that's your
Okay.
opinion. I understand that, but that's not necessary.
No, that's not my opinion.
That's not true.
a lot of people's opinion.
There may be a lot of people, but there's a lot of people that still wear one. I have an autoimmune disease. I have to wear one. So,
Well,
you know,
I
there's people
understand
that
that.
have, but
Pete,
my point is,
that's an exception.
there's, hey, I've been to several places. You go into many, many businesses, even in our town, there are people wearing masks going in. So it hasn't been decided by the overwhelming majority of the country. And the CDC still says if you're indoors, you know, especially if you're not vaccinated, and most people don't know, you know, since like the comedian says, people lie on Tinder. So what do you think they're going to do on masks? You know, you still have something in place.
We followed this to the point that the people that want vaccines have either gotten them or they have access to them. The people that have decided they don't want a vaccine are not going to get one, no matter how readily available it is. So that's what I'm saying, Pete, is that the people have decided, and if it's a good idea to wear a mask.
Yeah, I lost you, Bob.
I don't know what you said, but
You froze up.
Okay. All right. So people can still wear a mask. People can still social distance. People can still do whatever they want to. We're not saying it's a bad idea. What we're saying is we are not going to mandate it.
But you said one thing, Bob, that isn't accurate. CDC has not removed that from indoor spaces. I mean, and so, you know, most of the county stuff is indoors.
Okay. What about Walmart? They're not requiring it anymore. Walmart.
Those are private businesses.
It's indoors.
They're private businesses.
That doesn't carry any weight.
But see, that doesn't make that right. And when you go to Walmart, you find many people masked up. You find a lot of the clerks masked up.
Okay.
But Pete, that was a choice.
Right.
Their choices. Even our judge is not allowing it, or says you don't have to do it at the courthouse.
Yeah. I hear
It's
that.
time to end it.
Let the people make the choices.
But who are the people?
You and I.
Yeah.
If you choose to wear it, wear it.
Okay.
Sheriff York, you wanted to comment?
Yes, thank you. To the committee, I wanted to just speak to this point. So for our department, the Sheriff's Office, since this has started, the pandemic and the COVID-19 plan, we've established a lot of different protocols and safety features and abide by this, by the county COVID plan. One of the biggest things that we've encountered is communications in our dispatch center with the dispatchers wearing the mask and then being required to wear a headset and to communicate because when they normally sit and talk through the microphone that's in front of them, they're too far away from it and it's distorted. We've encountered a lot of the times when dispatchers weren't able to hear officers on the radio due to the masks, and dispatchers or patrol officers weren't able to hear dispatchers as well. So with the headsets that we had to go to, the headsets only communicate one channel or frequency through the headset at a time. Dispatchers monitor multiple different radio communications for the PSAP in the county, and at times are on the phone while multitasking, communicating on the radio. The headset does not allow that. In times, we've had to ask for radio traffic to be repeated. In emergency situations, it's an officer safety issue. That's one of the biggest points throughout the sheriff's office and the jail particularly. We've implemented all the cleaning protocols Isolation, we have the UV cleaning lights that are still used currently, and since this is all started, we have yet to have a positive case in the Adams County Jail, which I think says a lot. There was one inmate that had come through and later tested positive. That we don't know if they were positive in our jail, but that's really all we've encountered. The other part that's, I guess, to citizens that come to the courthouse and the sheriff's office, the citizens aren't required to wear the mask in the building, but yet the staff is. It's very confusing to the public that come into our building. And I guess what I heard on the last topic was, just department head input. That would have been, I think, something to take into account for the committee before they vote on this today. But I guess overall, my point is I hope that the committee lets this COVID-19 plan expire for the reasons I've discussed. Thank you.
I don't know if you want me to speak onto this or not, but I mean, this was developed with CDC guidelines. You are an employer. You have an obligation to protect your employees. OSHA has not weighed in on this other than to say that they are referring to the CDC guidelines, which requires that individuals who are not vaccinated wear masks. You, as well as any public or private employer, could be cited for not providing a safe work environment for your employees. We have several government entities where employees have filed safety grievances against their employer where they have not followed CDC guidelines and they feel that their safety is jeopardized. So this is a conservative approach in terms of implementing the CDC guidelines, requiring masks for unvaccinated individuals. And I mean, I realize that it is a policy decision, but this document does its best to incorporate all the guidance that is available to date from the EEOC, from OSHA, from CDC, with input from public health. There are exceptions in the policy that provide for law enforcement that may be exempt if it creates a risk to safety. So if you have a situation where dispatchers cannot communicate effectively, there's an exception for that. But people still need to social distance, and dispatchers should social distance to the extent possible.
Well, again,
Go ahead.
I don't know how we can be held liable when we're not suggesting that they don't have to. What we're suggesting is we're not going to mandate. That's one thing. Second thing is our court system has gone away from requiring the mask. I think we can't have a dual system in place. I think it would be totally confusing, and we should not advocate that.
Well, my thing is on here, it doesn't say anything that we're going to follow the CDC guidelines. There's not even a mention of that. And it doesn't say that, I've been fully vaccinated since February, that I'm okay coming in. It doesn't say that. It says that we have to wear them.
This policy is for employees. And if you look at, and officials, if you look at section 23.8 of the policy, if you're fully vaccinated, you're not required to wear a mask unless you're engaged in face-to-face interactions with the public. That's because the public may not be wearing masks. And it's to provide that greater level of safety, or also if you're in common areas. But in other workplaces, again, where the public is not there, if you're vaccinated, employees don't have to wear masks. And you likewise do not have to wear a mask if you're fully vaccinated. There also is an exception here. If there is a religious or disability reason that somebody cannot wear a mask. And I know that there are some individuals with extreme disabilities that can't wear a mask, and exceptions can be granted for that.
All right, John, we got a motion on the floor.
Yep. So we got a motion on the floor.
Will you repeat the motion, please?
Cheryl? The motion. Okay, go ahead.
Motion to deny the Third Amendment resolution.
Okay.
That isn't this one, is it?
The
Yeah.
third amended resolution to implement the COVID emergency management.
True, that's exactly what it is.
Well, they're related.
Oh, I see.
Yeah,
Okay.
they're
They're
related.
related because they give the county manager the authority to implement and change this plan as things change. So this is the plan today. The way this was set up, actually, the county manager was given the authority to make any changes necessary to the program. Since Jim is interim, he brought it back to this committee. So he could have implemented these provisions absent the fact that he was told not to make any major changes since he was interim. So he could have updated this policy and it would have gone into effect as written until the end of June. But again, he brought it back to this committee for discussion and to get your input. And since Cindy had just started, again, the resolution, if the resolution fails, then at the end of June, you will not have any kind of policy, or the county manager will not have the authority to implement a policy. So if there's a spike for some unknown reason, it'll have to all come back to the board.
Cynthia, can
I
I
can live with that.
ask you a question? This is Barb. Is there a financial advantage to our county if we implement this?
Not that I'm aware of. I mean, I guess the risks there are this, potential lawsuits that Mindy mentioned. I mean, I don't know how far those have gone in the court system to actually be awarded anything, but Mindy brings up a good point. And my notes to this resolution is that it appears reasonable. I mean, there is an out clause written in this and then you guys are also giving me the authority at some point to, I can lessen the mandate on the masks and maybe, but I do want to discuss this particular item with department heads because they need to have input. As far as I'm concerned, there are departments that deal with the public more than others. Other departments work among themselves and have worked among themselves without the public. Maybe those are less of a risk and that department head can choose to do a no mask mandate, because I know that we're all experiencing this mask, if you will. Me personally, yes, I am. I hate them, but I have to discount my feelings and think about what is best for the masses. And I'm not going to make any decisions on my own. I would like department heads to weigh in, and each department to me could be handled different than from another because of the exposure to outside customers, citizens coming in. That is my 2 cents there. I know that other counties and other cities have done away with the COVID. Everybody's back to normal, but to me, what is the new normal, and is there a new normal? I don't think the normal is the way it was before it all started. And I had mentioned too about reverse engineering. Perhaps, if you're giving me the authority here, what I do is I start reverse engineering and getting us back to what got us into this, and then gradually take restrictions away. But again, I'm not driving a boat on this. I definitely want input from all department heads because one size does not fit all. I hope that helps.
I think, John, we need to have the department heads input in on this. We've done it before.
Well, yeah, and I mean, there's two different things. There's a plan, and there's this resolution stating there's an emergency management plan, and then there's the plan behind it. Now that you mention it, some of my concern would be that I don't know if any of the reimbursements are tied to us to be in a state of emergency. Sometimes I know there is for like, so I mean, the plan behind this after this was really the nuts and bolts of how we operate. So, but I know, Mindy, if that's a fair synopsis or no, or.
Yeah, it is. I mean, the resolution declares that the emergency is continuing, allows you to continue to meet remotely, and allows the county manager to change and adopt the plan as necessary for the county, as well as emergency management also having that authority as necessary.
Mindy, this is Pete. If I could say just one question for you. So if we adopt this today and get to August and say, hey, we don't want it anymore, we can get rid of it, right?
Correct.
So why are we having to do it at the end? Why don't we just approve this thing? And if we want to rescind it in a month or 2 months, we do it.
And we have some of this, approve this, and then have it come back next month for the department head input?
Sure. Yes.
See, I'm just concerned that they haven't had any input, and there are some departments that don't see the public at all.
I agree with that, Barb.
But right now, if you don't make any changes, everyone operates under the current plan, which is everybody wears masks at all times.
And this is saying that they don't have to if they're...
Well, this doesn't say it. The plan behind this.
The plan behind it does.
Yes.
Okay.
John, can I speak? This is Rich.
Go ahead, Rich.
As far as the department heads, I can tell you that I know of at least 7 that are against any mask mandate at all. I think that I understand if the county approves this in its current iteration right now for the purposes of meeting remotely, what date you choose is irrelevant. If you do approve this, I would hope that the following amendment, you would change that to drop the mask mandate. Because if you maintain a mask mandate, I'm telling you right now, your employee morale is going to continue to drop amongst your employees. Most of the people that are working internally are working with social distancing requirements. And they're just frustrated with having to wear masks constantly. And it's like it was mentioned earlier, it's a little contradicting the fact that the court system, since a week ago on Tuesday, has dropped any mask requirement. Our surrounding counties, Dane County, Rock County, have all dropped their mask mandates. If you're not vaccinated, it is only recommended. It is not a mandate any longer. Thank you.
John, I'm going to leave this to you. I have to go to an appointment.
Okay.
Sorry.
That's okay. So we had the motion to not approve, motion to reject the third amended resolution.
John, can I have one more comment, please?
Yes.
So if we approve this, John,
if you approve
if we deny this, everybody has to come back to work on July 1st. But if we would just extend it by 1 month and then maybe vote in a mask, lift the mask mandate, I think that would help all of us with the teleworking, the department head influence and such, that we could really make an informed decision come July in lieu of doing it right now. That's where I stand. I mean, I'm with Bob. I came in here thinking that we should do away with this policy, but now with the teleworking thing up in the air, and the mask mandate in the air, and without any department head influence, I think that just to deny it right now would be the wrong thing to do. It would be the right thing to do to extend it for a month, get the proper information, but still lift the mask mandate. That's where I am at with this.
So you had made the motion to reject this. Would you be withdrawing that motion?
Probarski made the first.
I made the motion. I second it.
Oh, okay.
I would definitely withdraw that. I only seconded the motion. I'd be gladly take away my motion if Bob would change his, so we could just extend for 1 month and then get more informed. Or if Bob wants to keep it, I'll keep my motion. Just second.
Well, quite honestly, I think this is unacceptable as the way it is written. Why we went till the end of the year, why we didn't drop the mask with no input from department heads, no input from supervisors. I don't know who did this, but quite honestly, I think it wasn't done correctly. I don't want it. This thing needs to go away. This thing needs to get finished up and get back to some sort of normalcy. I don't disagree. The fact is that maybe we could, it's still in place until the end of the month. So it's not a drop dead date today. So I think this thing as presented to us, this resolution was poorly done and without the correct input from the people. I don't know why we'd want to keep it.
Well, the resolution really doesn't do much. The plan really does a lot of the background work. The next item, the COVID-19 plan, this doesn't really.
This is the
define
same.
The plan.
The only thing that the only change between your last resolution and this resolution is the date. Instead of expiring on June 30th, it expires later. And again,
right.
It gives the county, it gives you the authority to meet remotely, and it gives you the authority to have the county manager draft the policy. If this fails, after June, it won't go to the county board, and after June 30th, there will be no more remote meetings because your board rules require in-person meetings.
We have a motion set aside that would take care of that.
No, that's teleworking, not remote meetings.
Can I ask a question?
Whoa. What was that? We set it aside that so we could vote on it after this.
That's for
Yeah.
teleworking,
That's for
To do with
Yeah, exactly.
not meetings.
No.
You have to be here at all times.
Okay. I can live with that.
Can I ask a question, John?
Yes.
So if this goes away and everybody's expected to meet in person, that there's no virtual meetings, then do we open up to the public? Because I have to be able to do virtual to allow the public admittance at this time.
I would say yes.
Yeah, because we'd have no plan that says they couldn't partake and couldn't be present, and we wouldn't be open to the public. And we wouldn't have to social distance. So. Okay, so we have the motion to deny the third amended resolution. then?
John?
Yes?
Is there a way that this thing can be rewritten now that we've got other opinions, rather than whoever decided that we needed to do this for another 6 months? I mean, I'm disappointed in the people that did this. I'm frustrated that we weren't talked to, that department heads weren't talked to get the feeling on what's actually out there. And the fact that people have gone away from wearing masks and a lot of the other things, and now it looks like we want to be in charge yet. We're not in charge, nor should we be. It's time to wrap this up by the end of, I'll give it to the end of June, but that's it.
Well, I'm sorry, John, but I feel that we need this right now with this policy for the courthouse. But I can't see right now without having something where with the people that can do remote meetings or the public, we need to do something about that.
Right now, your county board rules state electronic attendance and or participation is not allowed. So if this lapses, no one will be able to call in and participate remotely in any meeting. They will have to physically be there.
And that's where my problem is, because being chairman of the planning and zoning, I would have this room filled with just not the board members, but all the other people.
Yeah.
Now, if you want to change this so that all you do is continue to suspend Board Rule 18 until later in the year, you can do that, and you could remove the provision allowing the county manager to have a plan. I mean, that's not my recommendation, but you can do that.
This recommendation right now isn't what we wanted. It's what I wanted.
It's coming.
A step further, like when Cynthia was reporting and there was an echo, I couldn't understand everything she was saying. Now, I know other people were able to, so it's probably my hearing more so than that, but I look forward to having her in the room so we can understand, that I can understand everything she's telling us, and we can have intelligent conversations and votes. So I need that. I really do. Or if we want to extend this 1 month and get our ducks in a row, with the exception of mask mandates, let's get rid of that. Let's get rid of putting the responsibility on the manager. Let's get it back to where that the board has to approve or disapprove. I can live with some of that, but I don't want this another 2 months, another 6 months, another whatever. We need to get rid of this. The people have already spoken, and by their actions, if nothing else. I like what Barb just said. I like the idea of people being able to weigh in without being physically present. That's not a bad idea. We've had more participation in the different meetings, and I think that's been very helpful. But this is all inclusive, and it's time to update it.
Well, the motion on the floor right now is to reject it.
Yep.
So
I don't know what else to do about that, John. Quite honestly.
Well, the only thing would be able to do would be withdraw it and change the date on it and extend it for 1 month.
Yeah.
If you're free.
With some
agreeable to
exceptions.
that, and then we'd strike out the county manager is hereby authorized to coordinate administrative emergency management response, carry out the order. Well, I don't know which one. The one where the emergency plan would be out of there, correct, Mindy?
Yeah. You just say the county manager administrative coordinator is hereby authorized to carry out orders of the board related thereto, and you take out directed by the county board to coordinate and administer the county's emergency response.
Emergency response plan.
Yeah, because the emergency response is the plan. So it would
Okay.
just say the county manager administrative coordinator is hereby authorized to carry out the orders of the board related thereto, that being related to the emergency.
Okay. So
And then
to do,
you'd eliminate,
I guess, so to do this, Supervisor Gabarski, we need to have you withdraw your motion so we can amend this resolution to get it in a format that would be agreeable to.
Yep.
We'll agree.
Rick's going to you're removing your second,
Yes, I will remove my second.
and I will remove the motion.
Okay. So then we look at extending, making an amendment to extend only till
let me just.
July 31st, 2021.
July 31st, 2021.
If you want to just keep the board's authority to act in an emergency in place, you could amend the resolution to delete lines 39 through 46.
Yeah, we don't see the lines here, not on my copy.
Not on your, the paragraph that says, be it further resolved that the county manager administrative coordinator is hereby authorized and directed.
Okay.
You don't need that anymore. Because you've already got the board may order by ordinance or resolution, whatever is necessary. So that gives the board the authority to tell the county manager what you want done. You don't need that next paragraph, because the next paragraph is what gives the county manager the authority to act independently to implement the plan. The next paragraph is the head of emergency management is authorized to carry out her duties under the direction of the county manager. You don't need that. Public health, let me just mention, is not mentioned in here. Public health still obtains and retains its authority under statute. You would keep the next paragraph, which suspends the rules requiring participation. And my recommendation is, rather, if you're gutting it and just having the remote meetings, at least extend it until you know your building's done and you've got a county boardroom.
Well, if we extend it 1 month, we can do some more work on this, because the plan down behind it then, and the plan that's there, I mean, we want to remove all that.
That's up to you.
I would think that plan would have to come back to us, because there might be changes that those department heads want to see in there, and to approve it without those that input, I don't think would be prudent at this time.
Where's the plan tied into the resolution, Mindy, I guess?
County manager is hereby authorized and directed by the board to coordinate and administer the county's emergency management response.
Okay, so if we strike that, like you're saying, does it say anywhere in here that, or is it by the ordinance or resolution, but there's really not an ordinance or resolution that sets up that plan, right? Correct?
Correct.
So would we have to put that in there?
That you want the plan to be by resolution or directive?
Or the plan would be tied to this resolution? So we can modify this plan, the board can modify this plan, or administrative and finance committee can modify this plan to be carried out by the manager?
That's what I was going to suggest, that perhaps you say that the county manager shall present the county's emergency management response to the county admin and finance committee for approval. So any changes have to come back to this group.
Because the teleworks in here then.
Yeah, and then Cynthia can meet with the department heads, amend the policy, and you can call a special meeting if you need to go over the plan again.
Chairman West, this is Jody Shaby. Could I ask a question?
Yes. Yes.
When we're talking about Rule 18 and the idea that the board can work remotely, where is it in this that it has anything to do with public participation coming in via Zoom or not? Because I agree with Supervisor Grabarski. I think we've had way more participation in various committee meetings, which I think is just the public actually being able to communicate with people.
Yeah, County Board Rule 18 says that there's no electronic or call-in part to the meeting, mainly set up so supervisors cannot participate via phone or remotely.
So then would it be better to change Rule 18?
Well, eventually, and we're just trying to get to that part.
Okay. Thank you. I'm just wondering, thinking outside of the box. So
yeah, that's my thought, is that we just need to extend this for a month so we get more ducks in a row, like everybody's saying. So.
John, one other part of this then, why don't we discontinue the mask mandate as of June 5th or June 7th? Have that done now. Why wait till the end of the month?
Well, that plan can be adopted as it is right now. That would, how it's written in the plan right now is that anybody that's been vaccinated or if they have a medical condition doesn't have to do it, or if they or if they social distance. Is that correct, Mindy?
They're not vaccinated. They have to wear a mask. And if there is a meeting where it's not possible to social distance, everybody needs to wear a mask, whether they're vaccinated or not.
Let's get rid of that.
But that's in the plan, not in the resolution.
That's in the plan.
So the resolution, so we change that date. We have an amendment to change that date and then amend that county manager. Mindy, how would you write that, I guess, so that we oversee the plan, or the board oversees the plan, I guess. But it's probably easier for the admin and finance committee if the rest of the board members would agree that it's probably easier for the admin and finance committee to meet if something needs to be changed quickly, right?
Right.
That's why the county manager had it, where the county manager would modify the plan, going forward, and I would be advised of, do conversations with me. That's how it was set up before.
John, this is Rick Pease. Can I make a suggestion?
Yes.
as we talk about this, I would rather see everything here tabled, and possibly we could meet even next Friday to go over the provisions we're talking about and get it to where is it? I don't know. I know the time frame's short. It's a week, and because we've been muddled in how people wanted it, it'd be easier to get it on paper and do it correctly, and be able to vote on it in its entirety in lieu of we're going to table this to do that. We're going to withdraw motions. I just think it would be a lot clearer for everybody in this committee just to meet maybe next Friday or the following Monday just to approve the way it is.
Yeah, I know the clerk's office would rather have us meet on like Tuesday so we can, so they can have it in one time in the county board. So I don't know if everybody else is available to meet like on Tuesday or Monday Monday might be hard with a notice unless it's Monday late afternoon, being that it's 11 o'clock now, we need notice, right? Correct, Cheryl?
That's correct.
Well, I will do whatever I can to be here for that then. I just think that I know we've thrown out a lot of ideas, and I would like to see Cynthia be able to meet with the department head, so it'd probably have to be Tuesday.
Mr. Chair, may I make a comment? This is Marge.
Yes, Supervisor Edwards.
I would like to suggest that you as the committee table items 15D, E, and F for further discussion if you set it for next Tuesday or whatever, because it seems like they're all three are tied together.
Right.
And you're talking cross purposes without knowing what's all on the table.
Right. Supervisor Kubarski, what do you think about that?
Well, I was just looking at the calendar. There's certain days that aren't not going to work. We have our building next Friday. And
well, we want it before then because the county board
That's
meeting's on the
Tuesday.
15th, so it'd be nice to get it out sooner than later. Yeah, PS&J, they got solid waste and property on Tuesday.
Wednesday.
And the deadline to have resolutions done is 9 a.m. on the 8th for the county board packet.
county board's on the 15th.
Yeah, but to get,
It's got to be a week ahead of time.
we can do it after the PS&J on Friday, on Wednesday, Bob.
Well, the deadline's
But
on
that's-
Tuesday.
That's not a week.
The deadline's Tuesday for
Oh.
the county board.
If we met, we could probably meet if you guys were available at.
I'm good Monday or Tuesday, all day.
9 to 10 o'clock on Tuesday. Well, Monday's going to be hard because it had to be late in the afternoon.
Well, Tuesday's good.
Supervisor Kubarski, what does it look like on your calendar?
Well, either one of them. What day is it going to rain? We're making hay.
It's supposed to rain both days next week.
I don't know, pick a day and a time, and I'll
Let's
try and be there.
let's do Tuesday at 9 o'clock. Hopefully, do we have?
No, properties at 8:30. It would never be done by 9.
Because we don't have 2 Zoom accounts.
No, just 1.
9:30, 10 o'clock.
So now, what day?
Tuesday.
9:30 or 10 o'clock.
I'm good anytime that day.
I'm good.
I'll try. I can do it
9:30 or
remotely.
10 o'clock, Bob.
Yeah.
9:30.
So what's the matter with 9?
Well, the property's at 8:30, so last meeting was done within that time. I don't know what's on the agenda right now, so without looking at it, so.
Okay. All right. Well,
Okay, so
You need a motion to say we're going to table those till that time? Is that what you're looking for?
Yeah, we have the one tabled right now, so can we further table
Tuesday at
that?
9:30.
Yes.
Okay. I make a motion that we table
D, E, and F.
F. D, E, and F until Tuesday at 9:30.
Okay. Do I have a second on that?
Rick Pease will second that.
Okay. So looking at doing those, and we can work on those, and hopefully county manager can get some input on the plan, and we'll look at further modifying the plan with some discussion items in there. So, okay. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those against signify by saying nay. Okay, that motion passes. So those items will be tabled till next week. So then we're down to resolution on the surface water grant funding.
John, before you move on, can I ask a question? For 15D, there was already a previous motion to table 1 month. What does this motion do to that motion then?
We had to remove that motion. Well, Mindy?
Oh,
Do we withdraw that motion to table for a month?
I think you should.
Is that Supervisor Pease that made that?
yeah.
Yes, I'll withdraw it.
Okay, so Supervisor Pease withdrew that motion.
Hickathler was second.
So,
I'll withdraw Pete's second.
not here, you can't oppose, I guess. So, okay. Okay, so we'll move on to the resolution to accept DNR surface water grant funding and create a 3-year limited term employee to implement the 14-mile creek.
And John, this is Kaysen. If anybody has any questions or would like to hear any further information on this, I'm available.
Okay, do we have a motion to approve?
It's for an effect this is a total grant by the Wisconsin DNR.
Cheryl, can we see the grant?
Yep.
So what's not covered by the grant will be covered by the Tri-Lakes Management District, correct, Kaysen?
Part will be coming from the DNR grant, and the match from Adams County will be coming from the Tri-Lakes District, and then also our staff time that goes towards the project.
Okay. So
I'll make that motion.
Okay. Motion by Supervisor Pease. Do I have a second?
Morgan.
Second by Supervisor Morgan. Discussion or questions? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those against signify by saying nay. That resolution will be passed on to county board then. Next, we have the courthouse screening and security policy.
I can briefly explain that. There is a courthouse security and facility group that meets and is planning for the new courthouse. The sheriff is in the process of drafting policies to implement in terms of his role and under his authority. But there are certain aspects that the county board has control over, and we need to make sure that the policies dovetail each other. A little premature to draft all the corresponding personnel policies because as I understand, the sheriff's policy is in draft, close to being finalized. But the big things for the county as a whole to consider is just to make that requirement that everyone entering into the courthouse building goes through security screening and cannot bring in a weapon. And it's on page 4, which is really the substance of this policy. But again, it's to get some general input so that this can go back to the Security and Finance meeting on June 18th, just so they know that the Admin and Finance Committee supports having these general screening for anybody coming into the courthouse building, and the weapons policy and the signage, because those are going to be the responsibility of the county. And then personnel will be directed to amend the handbook subject to county board approval to implement this.
I don't know if I'm doing something wrong, but I only got the first page, and you said there's something on a page 4.
Yeah, that's all I got too.
That's all that was submitted to us.
Oh.
Oh.
Hello?
I didn't look to see that all 4 pages went through.
Technology. Technology.
Yeah, wonderful technology.
Yeah. What was we talking about earlier? Yeah.
I mean, and this is just a draft right now. They just want some input from the admin and finance to say that, you know, because they're going to take it up at the security committee, right?
Right. And their thought was that they can't do it all alone. They're going to need the county's support in terms of dovetail personnel policies and to support the sheriff's policies too. So, I mean, this will come back once they're all finalized. But,
They'll come back to us?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I think that's what we talked about as a county board, was that, you know, there'd be screening for everybody at the entrance.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah. So
I'll make a motion that we approve it, but in the meantime, Mindy, if you can still send it to me, I'd like to see it myself.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
Well, we don't need to
I mean, yeah, you've got the first page. The second page, the second page just merely points out the criteria that have to be considered in any court security plan. And then the 4th page is the plan that just establishes, and I'll read it, general rules shall apply to the safety and security of the courthouse, except as set forth above, or otherwise accepted pursuant to more specific policy documents established by the Adams County Sheriff's Office to carry out the intent of this policy. All individuals, including county employees, shall be subject to security screening upon entry into the Adams County Courthouse. And then except as permitted by law, and as set forth in the Sheriff's Department policies, weapons and personal protective devices are strictly prohibited within the courthouse, and then signage will be put up. And then it's the direction to the Sheriff's Office to finish their policies, and then personnel to finish their part.
I mean, we don't really need a motion at this time yet, because we'll see a final form coming back yet, right, Mindy?
Right. Just
Mindy, did you read that employees don't have to be screened?
Employees do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Employees do.
Because most of the disgruntled people lately have been employees.
I know. I am, and that's a concern nationwide. And there shouldn't be any exemption. And I think Sheriff York, you're on, that we should be screening anyone that comes into the building to make sure that they're not bringing in firearms or any other dangerous equipment.
Chairman West, can I address the board on this?
Yes.
Yeah, so our policy is an 8-page policy that is drafted from our Lexipol program. And we've discussed this for a long time at our safety security facility meeting. And basically this is the policy of the sheriff's office. So for my employees to screen people coming into the county courthouse, my policy doesn't govern the remaining policy or remaining employees of Adams County. And a couple things just to set direction for what the county wishes to do. Of screening employees, not screening employees. It sounds like you want employees screened, which is what we have in the policy. And the only exceptions are for judges and the district attorney to not have to go through the screening process. And they'll have a separate access point for security reasons. And I guess the other part that what I really need to know is, and it doesn't need to be set today, but just moving ahead as this project comes to completion is what are the hours for employees to come into the building? Because that'll dictate when I have to staff that screening station, and as well as after hours access for employees, what that looks like. So that's some of the just a couple questions that I need from the county for direction as we move forward.
Thanks for your input. So, items to think about. So, okay. Any other items on that?
John, when we're meeting next Tuesday, I'd like Mindy to have something in there that says we're ending the mask mandate as of that day.
Yeah, we were going to look at that plan. So,
okay. Thanks.
Okay. We got the next agenda items will be next week, so we have those items. Otherwise, moving forward, we had some budget. We'll have the budget on there so we can talk about budget. Moving forward, next meeting date is set for that one. Otherwise, the normal meeting date would be July 9th.
Yes.
At 9 o'clock. We'll set that. So otherwise, I know it's been long. We're done with open session items then. They'd look for a motion to go into closed session for Wisconsin State Stats 1985, Paren 1, Paren C, for the purposes of considering employment, promotion, or compensation or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercise responsibility, and review applications for a corp counsel position. So do I have a motion to go into closed session?
Second.
Was Supervisor Gabarski first?
Yes, he was.
Okay. Roll call. Supervisor Gabarski? Supervisor Pease?
Yes.
Supervisor Morgan?
Supervisor Morgan